Good morning, afternoon, and or evening. My name is Derek, aka Professor Silly, and welcome to my series focused on the history of heavy metal music. I will be listening to a selection of albums in chronological release date order and giving my honest reactions, opinions, and then rating the album. Full disclosure, in my younger years, I was a metalhead. I played in a metal band from the age of 15 until 18, gigging in biker bars with older musicians. I am very familiar with a number of the albums I'll be revisiting and reviewing. Still, there are a lot of albums on my list that I've heard of, but never got around to experiencing. In the interest of keeping this as fair use, I'll be heavily editing my reaction in order to make sure I don't run afoul of copyright issues. I'm not wanting to pause the music, but rather will be commenting as I feel inspired to do so and editing down from there. I'm also dubious of only hearing something once. Our experience of music grows as we become more familiar with it. So I'll be listening to the album, giving my initial impression, and then repeatedly throughout the following week, at the gym, during walks, I will then rate the album at the end of said week. Finally, if there's a heavy metal album that is your particular favorite, let me know in the comments. If it's not on my list and I haven't passed the release date in my journey, I'll happily add it. My list has over 100 albums on it so far, but could always use a few more. Recorded in October 1969 and released in February 1970, at least in the UK, many regard this as the first proper heavy metal album. I am not sure I completely agree. To me, this still feels more bluesy than metal, but I can understand why the argument exists. To me, what makes something metal is, in part, the overwhelming desire to headbang while listening to it, and maybe throw heavy metal fingers here and there. I first listened to this full album in the mid-90s. I was never really into Black Sabbath, especially during my time playing in metal bands. But a drummer that I was playing with later insisted I check it out, give it a fresh listen, and focus on the brilliance of the drumming. This was extraordinarily good advice. Bill Ward is a mother of a drummer. So needless to say, I am very familiar with this album. Nonetheless, I'll go through it and share my thoughts with each track. Bell like on the last album, but the thunder is better. Got that tritone in there. So it makes it sound so evil. Yeah, what makes this so effective is the first person experience of it. It sounds less like a story and more like confessional, which makes it so much cooler than what we were hearing last week. Excellent. No notes so far. Might be my favorite track on the album, admittedly. Really painting the picture. Love it.
Watches those flames get higher and higher. Oh no, no, please God help me.
Yeah, the drumming. So good. Part of what I didn't like about this when I was playing metal is how simple it is. But now, in hindsight, historically, that's what makes it so heavy. Yeah. Sweet. So, yeah, that... probably the song I've heard the most off of the album, because every once in a while I turn the album on and I just don't quite make it all the way through. So I don't find anything cheesy or goofy about that. That's feels lived in, feels legit, feels wonderfully creepy, and yeah, awesome. Next track is The Wizard. Can't say I'm a big fan of harmonica, but feel the tension. Love that bass lick.
Misty morning, clouds in the sky.
So on Coven, it all seemed very cautionary, and we learned that was because they brought in a songwriter that wasn't an occultist. This feels like it's about an actual occultist who is triumphing over evil, good and evil, and wielding their power.
It's a joy, everyone's happy.
Yeah, even though this has a lot of the same kind of like heavy bluesy feel that like say Led Zeppelin would have, there's still something about it that makes me want to headbang.
Not to come by.
I think it's the drumming.
All the people give a happy sigh. See us pass by.
No, it's not just the drumming. It's the whole package.
All the people feeling so fine. Never talk.
All right, so yeah, that's great. Definitely bluesier than the first track, but still like feel myself. Well, I still feel like that feels metal to me. So yeah, no notes. It's great. Again, Geezer Butler on bass, just killing it right out of the gate. Almost a little bit of a end whistle in the approach there, which is not a bad thing. Love the slight delay on the vocals. It's probably just double tracked, but it makes it sound cool. As a bass player, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the bass just following guitar, but this works. He's not doing it all the time. He's doing it very intentionally and just makes it really heavy. Good stuff. Nice, yeah. Kind of, is this Lovecraft inspired? I feel like this might be Lovecraft inspired. These tracks all blend, so I'm not going to pause between. But it's all considered one track, like on a CD or whatnot. Not sure if that's an envelope filter or an actual wah. I've seen this covered by bands even in the last 20 years.
My love cannot be true. Please believe me, my love, and I'll show you. Your love for me has just got to be real.
This is such a great chorus. Vocal melody, bass, drums, guitar, like the whole thing. It's just so good. That little ending of that guitar solo is so metal. I mean, okay, I'm changing my mind on this as I listen to it. Like,
Follow me now, and you will not regret.
what can you say? I think that's the first half of the album right there. Those are all bangers, literally. Like, which, by my own definition I gave of what is metal earlier, that's all metal. I was, before coming in and listening to this fresh, after not listening to it for a while, I was like, it's just kind of hard blues, really. I'm kind of changing my mind about that mid album. That this, like, as much as like I would strongly argue that Led Zeppelin is proto metal, it's just hard rock. AC/DC isn't metal; it's hard rock. I can't say this is just hard rock. This feels like metal. One other thing I want to say about that last one that's notable about NIB is that it's identifying with the force of evil, which we did not hear that necessarily within Coven at all, even though Coven's supposedly by real occultists. Here, the identity is, my name is Lucifer, please take my hand. To be fair, this is a year after the Rolling Stones' Sympathy with the Devil. So it's not the first song to take that approach. But I don't think anybody could argue that Sympathy with the Devil is a metal song, even though it has that identification that we're seeing here. So just wanted to call that out. Okay, this track I'm not familiar with. Apparently this track wasn't on the US release. It was only on the UK release, which is the first release, is the original release. So I don't know if I've ever actually heard this song. So let's see what this one's about. Oh, this does sound familiar.
I see the look of evil in your eyes. You want me to claim this child you bore. Well, you know that it was he, not me. And you know the way it's got to be.
Set your boundaries, dude. It's weirdly catchy compared to everything else so far. Which makes me wonder why it wasn't on the US release. It seems like usually when songs were removed from UK albums for US release, they were removing the more, like at least with the Beatles, they were removing the songs that were a little bit more dangerous, maybe dealing with drugs or things like that to like sanitize the album for the US market. That doesn't make sense with this. I mean, granted, it's about infidelity. Maybe they thought the US audience, but there's plenty of songs about infidelity. Certainly before this, maybe just not in polite society. I don't know. That's an odd one. I have heard that, but I'm not as nearly as familiar with it as other songs on this album. It wasn't on the CD that I bought back in the 90s, mid 90s, when I first really gave this album a serious listen.
Sun rising in the sky.
Yeah, I've heard this before.
When the sun turned all a blur and the never said you love me.
I see here, this was written by Ainsley Dunbar, who I'm also very familiar with. I didn't realize that he wrote this song. He became the drummer for Zappa around about this time.
But now I've got to love you. Tell me.
Some great tone on that bass. Nice. Little key shift. Building intensity. There we go. I feel like we're getting away from metal a little bit there, and now it's like we got back on it. There we go. That said, there's a lot of groove for metal, but there's such a thing as groove metal, so that's not necessarily a deal breaker. Da 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 da. Honestly, this is what it feels like a band does when they didn't have enough material written for the album, so they just like, yeah, we'll just improv some stuff. My cat's using the wheel, by the way, in case that's coming through the microphone.
Now the whole wide world is moving, 'cause there's iron in my heart. I just can't keep from crying, 'cause you say we've got to part. Oh, just a little bit too strong.
Metal ending. Okay, so it looks like I gave myself a little bit extra work because I didn't realize that the UK release and the US release were different. So I'm going to need to move stuff around. So if you see my drink increasing and decreasing, that's why. Also, the bit of weirdness up here, I'm recording this on the solstice. The sun has gone down, so I only have my camera light on. So it's creating, it's not demonic activity that's up here doing stuff. That's just because of the lack of outdoor natural light coming through my window at this point. So yeah, pretty familiar. I'm going to try to make sure that I listen to the UK version of the album for the next week. Because it does have that one track that I'm not as familiar with. And it's a different order. In fact, I might listen to both. I might go back and forth between the US and the UK versions. Focusing on the UK version, I'm going to rate the UK version, but I might listen to the US release version just to help my brain highlight the differences. This is even better than I remember, but I'm not going to rate it now. I'm going to live with it for a week and see how I feel after some re-listens and some background research, etc. So I will see you in one moment. All right. Despite my earlier misunderstandings of what was on the UK release versus what was on the US release that I was more familiar with, I have now listened to the UK release version of this album multiple times over the last week. I've also listened to the US version a couple of times just to really cement in my brain the differences. And really the only difference is that one song. Evil Woman was replaced by Wicked World. Wicked World I didn't include in this reaction because it's part of the US release. It's probably, of the two, I think I like Wicked World more than I like Evil Woman. I also went back and I listened to the original of Evil Woman, which has horns and is very different from the Black Sabbath. Well, it has horns. It's the same song. I think I like the Black Sabbath version better. I also went back and listened to the Ainsley Dunbar Retribution original of Warning, and that original version came out in '67, if I'm not mistaken. It's very psychedelic rock. It's very much of its time. It sounds a little bit like Cream, or like Jimi Hendrix. It's psychedelic rock. That Black Sabbath's version is not psychedelic rock anymore. It no longer has that feel. I think says a lot about how true Black Sabbath was to the image of what they were trying to do. Finally, I also went back and watched a concert of theirs from 1970 that did include songs off of their upcoming, the second album, the one I'll be covering in 2 weeks. But I've already heard that album before, so it really wasn't spoilers for me to hear songs like Paranoid, Iron Man, or War Pigs. I'm very familiar with all three of those songs, in fact. That said, this album is even better than I remembered. I really enjoyed listening to this album over the course of the last week. I'm going to kind of miss it. I added it to my playlist of favorite metal albums of all time. Now, when it comes to ranking, though, you will notice that S tier is utter perfection, no notes. A tier, amazing album, near perfect. If I was going to nitpick this album at all, it's that final track, Warning. It gets a little bit meandering and noodly during the course of it. Feels like they were just kind of filling time with what they were doing in the studio. They eventually come back around and finish the song off, but there's a whole lot of just guitar noodling. Now, I do not like jam bands or that sort of thing. I am not a fan of things like the Grateful Dead or like Fish or any of that like hippy dippy nonsense. Personal opinion. So the question is, does that noodling mar an otherwise perfect album? And I will say it doesn't. Frankly, I didn't ever feel the need to skip forward to the end of the track. I was perfectly fine letting that final track just play. The way it has songs blending from one into another wasn't new for the time. The Beatles had already done some of that. Frank Zappa had already done some of that. Marvin Gaye had already done that. So plenty of other styles and groups, styles of music and groups have already done a thing where they've had songs blending from one into the other. Not a brand new thing, but very much appreciated here on the second side of this album. And so I am going to put Black Sabbath's debut album right up here in S tier, the first S tier album that we have. And yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Before listening to it this last week, I would have put it in A, but after living with it for a week, nah, man, this album's great. Absolutely loved it. Right. So in conclusion, that's where I'm putting Black Sabbath. Next week, I'm going to be tackling an album I've never heard before. So I'm excited for that. If you enjoyed or appreciate this video, please like and subscribe if you would. It was going to help this brand new channel grow and develop and reach a broader audience. I know that I'm not reaching a worldwide, 100% worldwide audience because of the amount of the material that I'm using, copyrighted material that I'm using. It's not available in all territories. So, oh well, it's available most of the world. So if you're seeing it, you're not a part of that part of the world that frowns upon this sort of thing. And congratulations on that. In the meantime, you have a great rest of your whatever, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta.